Hi everyone. So my name's Emmett Tucker. Maybe you've seen some of my shorts. Decided to make a full-blown video to try and show off this most recent thing that I made using the Google Agent SDK. If you didn't know, the Google Agent SDK came out just the other day. I was watching a video on it and I thought it'd be cool to try it out. I'm basically the programming language that I'm most familiar with is Python, so I figured this would be a cool way to try out, or easy to try out. I actually learned about a couple of other agent software development kits along the way, but yeah, this one seems trendy and like I could make a good video on it, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Um, so let me get started. So the agent actually works by taking an input, which is a topic. It can be, just a sentence or so, and then it will run through this multi-agent workflow. Um, so this multi-agent search tool is a sequential agent with the loop agent embedded inside of it. Alongside the loop agent embedded inside of it, there's also a searcher agent and a formatting agent. I figured it would save API tokens if I didn't have the searcher agent within the loop. Anyway, so it starts with the user putting in an input. Once the user puts in an input, which can be a topic of your choice, then it'll flow through this flow chart. So it'll start with the searcher agent, and then it'll flow to the article agent, which is inside of the loop agent. The tone checker checks the tone of the article. The reviser revises the article, and the critic critiques the article. If the critic doesn't think that the article is good enough, then it'll actually go back to the article generator. The entire article will be rewritten. The tone checker will check it again. The reviser will check it again. Blah 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 blah. So on and so forth. Good enough, then it'll go over to the formatting agent. Usually, with my experience with Gemini models, they do automatically format stuff if you tell it it's an article, but I just figured that would be a nice little check, and yeah, that's how the flowchart works, or that's how this agent works. And then once it goes through the formatter, it'll output an article. All right, I'm gonna give you a basic rundown of the code based on my understanding of it. I'm kind of, not the best at programming, I'll admit that. I'm the first to admit that. But I can copy and paste well, and I'm pretty good at prompting. So this is the code editor, Cursor, and this is what I used to basically build the app. If you see my short, I do try and build it in VS Code. That wasn't working well. That's why I can readily admit that I'm not the best programmer, because I wasn't able to finish the project there. So I decided to take it to Cursor, which is an AI programming IDE, and ask it a couple of questions about the code base so that I could fix the errors. It ended up working out really well. Took a couple of tries, didn't get every error right away. I had to paste in a couple of console errors. Um, most of the problems that I was dealing with were actually due to import errors, and in the initpy file. So that was the main problem. I'm not gonna. This isn't a tutorial on how to use the LLM agents or how to build them. I'm not ready to quite do that yet, but I can talk about how I built this. So I'll start. So first I imported the libraries and modules and constraints. So these were all the relevant libraries that were needed. Most of them I got directly from Google. I did notice that the typing import of override, I did have a different typing call, or a different thing. I just had a different version of Python. That was why I had to use this version. So if you see a difference in the tutorial that you find online, which I'll try to remember to link in the description, yeah, that's why I made that change. If you run into the same error with your IDE, or your code, then this is fixed. I should tag it, but I don't know how people are going to be able to find that specific fix. Not my problem. Anyway, then next I define the constraints, and the only real constraint for this model, since there wasn't really an app name or anything like that, is the Gemini Flash model. That's the model that'll be used consistently throughout this. I'm pretty sure it's the cheapest version of it. Hopefully. I'm running actually into a rate limit error, which I'll show you later. I'm pretty sure that might be tied to the model that I'm using and the fact that I'm on a free plan right now. So basically what I did here is define the LinkedIn agent class, which inherits the base agent. Um, this is like standard procedure for building a multi-agent system or a custom agent from Google's Agent SDK. But anyway, right here I define the different classes, the attributes of the LM agent. Um, More of that's just some object-oriented programming stuff. Not ready to explain that either. Uh, I'm, I'm gonna remember to post a link to the GitHub in the description as well. So if you're interested in taking a look at this project, it should be up there. I won't have the README ready immediately after the upload, but I will eventually have it up there. So here's where I initialize the agents. So each agent has a description. Well, it has a name, a model, a description, instructions, and the search agent actually has a Google search tool equipped to it so that it can search for trendy topics and ground its article generation in reality. Uh, yeah, the tool is right here. Uh, yeah, there's a couple of already built tools within the agent SDK. So if Google search is just the easiest one to use and the one that I'm probably going to be using the most often. Uh, One thing I want to point out is the sentence that I have highlighted right here. That's basically so that the LM agents know exactly what to reference when they're working. I changed, like, this one references topic, which is essentially the input from the user, and then every other LLM references a different output. I'll show you a few others. Um, so this one references both the topic and research results produced by the previous agent. Then the next agent just references what's passed by the other agent, the current article, which is produced by the article generator. Then next is the current article tone checked. Um, and then it's the article revised. Then there's the formatted article finally. So that's basically the order of which things are created in this flow for agents to work with. So here's where I define two agents that actually aren't powered by LLMs. They're actually just powered by conditional logic. So these are two agents that Google defines their workflow agents. They're a special type of agent. Um, so there's the loop agent, which basically runs through the article generation and to the critic, and that'll loop back. That's referencing the flowchart that I showed you earlier. Then there's the sequential agent, which has the searcher, the loop agent embedded inside of it, and the formatter. Um, so that is the process of events. That's like the overall process of events that the agent has. Then for sub-agents, all I had in this list was the sequential agents. Oh boy, then there's this section right here, and to be honest, this is some override calls, and this was an advanced topic mentioned in the Google Agent SDK. I wouldn't have been able to make it through probably without using Cursor, to be honest. I had to, and it mostly because I was unable to catch very small typos, like for example, research results right here. I was missing an S in the second time it was referenced, so like I probably would have spent like a day or two looking through that if I was just using VS Code or something like that, or without using AI, I guess. Doesn't have to be any sort of specific AI. Um, but anyway, this defies like the control flow like logic for the agent. Um, it's commented in here, so if you end up taking a look at the GitHub, you can see more so how it works. I guess I'll go through a quick thing. So basically, it is the starting message to the LinkedIn agent. It's defined. It's the input that you type in. Then from there, you go to the initial research agent, and the research agent dumps its contents. Then it goes to the I have a check to make sure that the research results were at least generated. If those aren't generated, then the workflow won't proceed. Then after that, it says the results are successful and the research is obtained. Then the article is generated using the research results loop. and using a sequential agent instance to run an article, to run the article generation process. So that's the like overarching model process that I showed you earlier in the flowchart. Um, then there's the critic conditional logic to determine if the article is ready for posting. So that's basically the critic doing its thing. I don't have to really explain what a critic does. Um, yeah, that's like the internal logic of the agent. So it's multiple LLM agents working together, embedded inside of two bigger agents that don't work off of LLMs. They just work off. So next, I want to talk about the init file. So I did have some problems with this, but this is like, yeah, I don't know much to say about this file. This is just the init file. I did have some problems with the referencing, getting the correct reference and importing packages. I was dealing with some circular import issues, but eventually was able to figure it out. So yeah, that's that. Also, I need to mention, I'm not going to click on it, but there's this environment file right here. It contains my API key, so I'm not going to show that. But yeah, make sure that if you're trying to upload this project to GitHub, you don't accidentally post that. Delete the directory right away before you post a video to YouTube about it. But yeah, that's how you define environment variables. I say a lot, don't I? So make sure that when you're making the init file, I just realized this right now, that you have the right name reference. So I was dealing with some problems because in this agent file, I was actually not referencing a root agent. I was trying to reference a different agent name. So I was dealing with problems for like an hour or so. It was pretty annoying. Live streamed it all, but yeah, didn't. Oh God, I'm a little mad at myself right now. So after you defined all three of these files, you can upload the agent. I probably didn't need to define all these three files. I might have done some extra work. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But it's working right now, other than a rate limit error. So, all right. So here is where I tested out the agent. This is the web UI that they provide. Google provides. You can launch it by going to your directory that this project lives in and typing in adk.web, or not dot, but adk web. All that's referenced in the Google's documents. I'm not going to go over that. Like I said, link in the description. Okay, so basically after a lot of trial and error, which I live streamed the whole thing, very annoying process. I probably could have done this easier if I just tried to troubleshoot from the terminal, but I tried to troubleshoot from the UI for some reason. Don't know why I did that. So I'm gonna let somebody else explain the web UI, but there's basically this chat down here to the side. I know my video's blocking it right now, but you can actually add video and audio to it. So after I finally troubleshooted the code and got it to a point where I thought it was working, I decided to test it trying the words boats. Like write an article about boats, basically. Just typing in the word boats, see what it would do. And as you can see, it actually did an article to generate boats, LinkedIn post about boats. My dad's a fisherman, so I'm sure he'd appreciate it if he had LinkedIn. So as you can see, it actually generates some research results, and it goes through this whole workflow. It has its sources listed, provides a summary of the results, and then drafts an article. And then the article goes through a review process, and eventually it says that it's ready. I'll go back to that. I did test it multiple times. I kept getting the rate limit error, and I was like, "What's wrong?" But it got the articles out, so I figured it's good enough to make a video about. Um, that's most likely an issue due to my billing and not anything else really. So then I decided to really put this thing to the test and have it write an article about automatic content creation. Kind of meta, right? Anyways, so I asked it to do exactly that, automatic content creation using multi-agent systems, and then did research on that. So you can see that process here. Not going to go over the exact same thing again, but yeah, wrote an article, critiqued it, and then popped it out. There should be a LinkedIn plugin tool available, if not already, but eventually that would allow you to just automatically publish this content. say you can make like a web UI and just be like boats or whatever you want to type in, and then that would just automatically post to LinkedIn. You could even have it scheduled so that it would just post on a frequent schedule. Personally, I'm probably going to post one of these articles myself. I'm not against AI generated content, clearly, but anyway, yeah, this is just a brief view of my multi-agent system. It generates articles for LinkedIn. So yeah, that's it. First long form video. I don't know how long this is going to be after I edit it, but you know, good times. Have a good one.